So, Harvard just dropped a study claiming that AI killed junior jobs. They tracked 62 million workers and said companies using AI cut entry-level positions by 9%. But here's the thing. The junior hiring crash started in 22, even before most people knew what prompt engineering was, before ChatGPT existed. And right when the Fed jacked interest rates from 0 to over 5%. Today, I'm going to show you why we've been blaming the wrong villain for entry-level job losses. We've done exactly the same thing a few times already in the last decades. Each time, we permanently scare off generations of careers. And we're about to do it again. What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Second Order Thinkers. Today, we're diving deep into something that's affecting millions of young professionals right now: the complete collapse of entry-level hiring. And no, despite what everyone's telling you, it's not because of ChatGPT. If you care about how AI impacts yourself, your family, and your career, you should subscribe to this channel because that's the kind of information I will bring to you. All the videos based on the latest research. Right. So let's break down what this Harvard research is exactly, because understanding their method shows why I'm skeptical. They analyzed a massive database, almost 300,000 US companies, 62 million workers, and hundreds of millions of employment record, and so on. Huge study, right? Well, they basically stalked everyone on LinkedIn from 2015 to 2025. Well, now, this is where it gets clever, but also problematic. Instead of asking companies, did you adopt AI? Which I think it's kind of smart, because what we're likely to get from your marketing department is probably some kind of a corporate bullshit. They looked at the job posted on LinkedIn. Specifically, they look for Gen AI integrator role. Do you know the kind of roles with terms like ChatGPT, prompt engineering, LangChain, and all that stuff? But that then relates to how they will integrate those AI into their workforce. They found six digits of those positions out of the few millions of jobs they tracked. It sounds like a lot until you realize that is only 0.06% of all jobs posted. We're talking about a tiny fraction here. But there's another interesting thing about this study. Those generative AI integrator roles aren't really entry level. No, they look at this, for example, the junior product manager role they highlighted requires experience integrating generative AI into security product. It's not really a fresh graduate position. I used to hire quite a few product managers. This is not kind of roles that I will hire a graduates to fill. If you work with product manager, careful, there is a huge difference from project managers. You can't just walk into a college and hire a grad and ask them to be successful in a product role. It takes at least 1 year of training for them to understand some basic principles and be able to run tiny product on their own. So just right off the bat, they're tracking the wrong kind of job to understand what's happening to the actual entry level position. Now, let's talk about timing. This is where the whole argument falls apart. The study assumed the company posting AI jobs in 2023 are different because they adopted AI. Then go back to the point when ChatGPT was released. But what if, stick with me here, what if they were already differences in the ways that make those particular AI adoption companies more vulnerable, especially when it comes to rate hikes? Let me paint you a picture. So let's say a company A, let's call them a future AI adopter, that they are a venture-backed startup, that they've been They've been burning cash like it's going out of style, assuming zero interest rates are going to last forever. A few ways they could get their cash. One is that they give out their share to take venture capital money. And second is that they loan money with some kind of guarantee behind it. And because the interest rate was low, so maybe they were only paying 3 or 4% around that time. But when the Fed's interest rate hiked to 5%, they're looking at least paying 7% for their loan. And what they're likely to do is when that funds dries up, they can no longer spend money like this, but they have to really tighten up the belt. That means to cut costs. That means not to hire junior position. I will go through the logic with you a bit deeper later. But that is the kind of company that we should be looking for. Unfortunately, the study didn't really separate them from the other ones. And they also didn't look at enough variables, which I'm not blaming them because there's no study can be actually comprehensive to the real world scenario. So before we dig deeper into my concern of these kinds of studies, let's have a look at what history has to tell us. We've seen this several times already. So we're going to start with the 1990s recession, and then the dot-com crash, and then the 2008 financial crisis. Now, if we start with the 1990s, this graph in the report is not trying to show the relationship between unemployment rate and recession, but don't worry because that's also information you can extract from there. It's telling you about another recession before. They also had the same unemployment problem for young people, but the trend was just different. As you can see, the unemployment rate during the 1990 recession was high. And then we come to dot-com, that's around 2000 and 2001. That's when you see the entry level position just vanished overnight. Companies kept their senior staff and removed all the junior hires. What's worse, for those who graduated between 2001 and 2003, they were facing between half a year to a full year of unemployment as standard. But when the hiring resumed in 2004 and 5, those companies didn't hire the people who graduated from 2001, 2003. No, they were hiring newly grads around 2004 and 5. So those people who were graduated a few years back, their salary remains low, and a lot of them remain unemployed even after a few years. Now, let's go to the financial crisis in 2008. This one was even worse. The youth unemployment hit 19% in the US, the highest since 1948. And in the UK, it peaked at 22.5%. Entry level position was just disappeared across all sectors. Again, the real damage is never really about the employment itself. Of course, it hurts that you can't find a job after you graduated. You feel like no one appreciates the things you've learned in the last few years, and no one gives you a chance to prove yourself. What's worse is the study track these recession grads even after 15 years, they still earned between 2 to 3% less than those who graduated in a better time. And get this, it's not just about earning, it affects their whole life. They have higher divorce rates, they have few children, and their whole relationship and family kind of destroyed because they graduated around recessions. Back to today in 2025, we're watching the fourth or fifth iteration of the exact same story. Starting in 2022, tech hiring froze solid. Job posting fell like 30 something, 35, 36% below pandemic levels. And what actually caused it? The Federal Reserve raised interest rates from near zero to 5% in just 16 months. The longest period of cheap money in modern history just ended. Think about the company A I talked about earlier. They spent so much money to borrow, expand, and hire hundreds of people because money was cheap. And what do you think will actually happen when money started to cost a great deal? They panic and they cut costs. And where is the easiest place to cut? Junior roles. Every single time in history. And there's no difference in 2025. There were already six digits of tech workers laid off. A big part of them are people who don't really have a few years of experience. This is the thing. With that history, there are still so many prestige studies and institutions trying to link the result with the wrong cause. It's just like saying the Salesforce stock price is driven by how many people are named Sunny. Is there really a correlation? Come on. Now, look, again, Harvard isn't alone here. The World Economic Forum also has a report about how junior jobs are affected by AI. MIT has the same study. Every top institution is racing to publish that AI killed jobs narrative. And here's my first concern. When Harvard says something, 90% of people treat it like gospel. These institutional names are like designer brands. When you shop between Gucci and Nike, you might intuitively think that Gucci has better quality. But does it really? People stop checking if the quality of this kind of study matches the institutional names. To be fair, the researchers did include some caveats. They admitted that their definition of adoption is blunt, their timing is fuzzy, and they can't really roll out other factors. But guess what? The media doesn't read the footnotes. LinkedIn influencer doesn't really care about the caveat. As soon as Harvard said AI killed junior job, that itself becomes the truth. So my second concern here is that people often mistake AI exposure with AI replacement. Researchers use an index to classify which jobs are exposed to AI, such as writing, data analysis, customer service, which are the things we all already knew. A high exposure job, in theory, could be automated by a large language model. But in theory, and could be, never equals to has been. Let me emphasize this. Seniors with job experience can correct AI's mistakes much faster than juniors can. Really, you need to ignore those AI boost junior people's job productivity by 50% kind of bullshit because, yes, they improve the speed of how they complete a task, but it doesn't mean that the qualities are equally good, right? So if you end up doing more tasks, but have a higher error rate, someone just needed to be there and clean up your mess afterwards. I don't think that is much more productive than it originally was. Anyways, another thing you need to understand that AI's error rate is just way too high to replace a human entirely. Let's say if AI can do a 10-minute task on its own, that would be great already. Look at the other report I wrote about. But most junior work isn't just a 10-minute task. It's contextual understanding, context switching, and figuring out what senior actually meant when they say, make this better. When the economy is good, you hire junior people to do stuff that senior staff doesn't like to do. They can learn from the job and observe how other people deal with different situations within a few months, even a year. Unfortunately, when the fund dries out, if you are a manager, you don't have that much money to hire new people anymore. You will likely just force your senior staff to do the admin stuff on their own. Maybe even with AI, it makes tasks 10 to 15% faster. And there's no reason to hire someone who is more expensive and it takes 1 year or two to train them to the quality that you expected. I'm sorry, it's a bit long, but you need to put the puzzle together. So the other article I wrote, I was examining MIT's report, which they claim 95% of enterprise AI pilot failed, they found despite 30 to 40 billions in spending in these AI pilot deep integration projects, only 5% of AI projects achieve any return on investment. In this case, if you compare to OpenAI's data, you will realize there's a mismatch between MIT reports saying 90% of AI projects fail versus so much adoption. Then what people actually use AI for? People use AI to summarize their email, to take meeting notes. And most people find it useless after an hour or two of trial because the best performing AI models in enterprise achieve only 60 to 70% accuracy at best. Just imagine, would you trust a bank clerk who's wrong 24% of the time? Let's say you are making a £5,000 transaction, and there will be a quarter of the time that transaction will end up on your buyer's hands, and you need to pay the buyers again. Would you work with a bank like this? No, you wouldn't. Overall, what I'm trying to say is that AI adoption stays at the service level. Adoption is never fundamental enough to replace entire rules. It can replace some of the task and a really small part of the task. At best, it helps seniors to work slightly faster on some tasks that they don't want to do. The root cause is not AI. It started with everyone having to tighten their belt to run the company. My third concern is with these studies out there, more and more people now believe AI is the root cause of juniors not getting hired anymore. And it lets those companies off the hook of an actual structural problem. When you blame AI for something that's actually a macroeconomy, overhiring, cost cutting spiral, you spend resources on solving the wrong problem. What worries me is that we're going to fix a non existing AI problem while ignoring the real issue. So, what I think really matters, I'm not going to waste your time to tell you, oh, embrace lifelong learning kind of bullshit. So, for newly grads, or those with children or who care about how our future generation can still live in this kind of world, here is something that actually helps for individuals, especially if you're stuck. Get any experience you can. Try internships, freelance, volunteer work, anything that will let you point out, I did this in a real context. The gap between college grads with no experience and 1 year of experience is enormous. Just close the gap however you can. The data shows that recession cohort grads suffer wage scarring for more than 15 years, and you want to avoid that. Second, you want to target smaller firms and non-tech companies. I guess this is somewhat obvious, but I just want to spell it out. I know it's tempting to go to big firms like Microsoft, OpenAI, or Accenture, because then you have a big name behind you. But when you have no choice, try small companies. They might have a lesser budget, give you lower salary, but it's just a few years thing. And then you can decide what's next for your career. But more important is to get the experience. And lastly, try not to blame AI for your struggles. I know it's easier said than done. The reason I'm saying this is because, yes, blaming doesn't help, but if it makes you feel better, then do it. At least blame the right thing. What about try I'm competing with 500 other people for every entry role because the economy isn't ideal? At least by blaming the right thing, you're directing your anger to the root cause that you will have a chance to fix the problem. And if not, at least you'll have a chance to form a proper plan against it. The reality is really that most companies aren't using AI nearly as much as everyone claims. They just not hiring because budget is tight. And it does sound better saying that we stop hiring because we have AI strategy, then we stop hiring because we don't have enough budget. There's something that keeps me up at night, and it's not AI. For someone who read hundreds of studies on how AI impacts humans, it's really about how we deal with it. Especially now, we are in the middle of the fourth major junior slash grads get screwed cycle in the last decade. We have dot-com crash, we have a Great Recession. We invent a new story just to talk about why it's different. I guess that's just human nature. The real cause is the same. The economic shock. Companies invest less in developing talent when money is tight, using AI as a scapegoat because it sounds better than no budget. Each time we lose a chunk of a generation's career trajectory, as I said earlier, the ramification of unemployment for a few years lasts a lifetime. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. Stay human, stay curious.